Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
Hey everybody, school is coming quickly, and as we look at beginning the school year, I want to focus our minds back on what it looks like to reclaim some of this time and be deliberate with the time we spend. Specifically, I want us to claim those healthy habits, those healthy rhythms for the school year, and make that transition from the free time we had in the summer to really deliberate use of this time, because now is when we can set some healthy habits. Let's not wait until November or February and begin to kind of panic catch up that'll carry us all the way till June, and then we slump our way into summer and just pray for a longer time away from school. Instead, we can make this time really deliberate. So first, we're going to schedule sleep. Then we're going to minimize our screen time, and it's not just to be away from them, but it's to be deliberate with the time. And screen time is one of those things that has a tendency to just leach into all of our priorities. So we'll be deliberate with it. I'll be clear on that. And then we're going to pick our top 3 priorities. So we're going to schedule our sleep, we're going to minimize our screen time, and we're going to pick our priorities. And just 3 of them, because as you'll see, school brings a certain amount of rhythm to it that often doesn't have the amount of liquid time, fluid time, time that we can spend as we would. Schedule sleep, I'm putting this as 1A, because first, summer often gives us the opportunity for sleep and doesn't force us to manage it well. Research reminds us very lovingly what many of us know: our kids generally need more sleep. They need 9 hours of sleep a night, not of being in bed. So this isn't, I send them to their bed at 9 p.m. and they can watch a show and be on their phone, text their friends, play their favorite video game, search the internet, and they fall asleep whenever they fall asleep, but they're quiet and they're in their room. That is not what we are talking about. Research tells us that when children get enough sleep, they improve in their memory recall, so their ability to retain information, specifically academic information in this case, to manage their emotions, their anger, their anxiety, their positive emotions. They can temper them better. Even though they're missing some of the hardware, their frontal cortex, it allows them to inhibit certain choices. They do better when they have 9 or more hours of sleep. It helps their mental health, so their feelings of anxiety are lower, and their feeling of depression is lower. If you have a child who either exhibits behavior that looks anxious or depressed, or can verbalize, I feel anxious or depressed, more sleep is 1A for that. Now, sometimes an example of depression is they want to sleep forever. And I understand that, right? They just want to stay asleep and they don't want to get out of bed at all. That is, again, that's a fruit of depression. So maybe more sleep in that young person's life isn't exactly what we're looking for. What we're looking for is deliberate amounts of sleep, scheduled sleep. So we're going to get our 9 hours, our 10 hours, and now we're going to get up and find purpose in the day. But oftentimes it's the extreme fatigue and the extreme overload for our minds and our hearts and our bodies that leads us to that kind of burnout level of, I just can't remove myself from this bed because I don't see the purpose of any of that. I just am trying to separate those two. So where was I? It was memory, it was physical growth, it was mental growth, and it's the ability to process emotions well. So Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, is a great spot where he compiles a lot of the research on sleep. It's all the way back from 2017, so coming up on 10 years now. But that book still does a very nice job of covering a lot of why we sleep, why it's important, and why this is a priority for young and developing brains. 9 hours a night, that's not just for elementary kids or junior hires. This is for high schoolers, and that's a nearly laughable number in America. The reason I put this as the first for us to focus on as we head to the school year is it's the easiest to forego because we are so success oriented and we operate on what we see right now. Well, my child is doing well. Good grades, good kid, seems to be perfectly healthy, has friends, is involved, loves the Lord. Moving on, 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night. It is not sustainable. It will not work. The only reason it's working is your child has a lot of slack in the line from being young and can pull out that slack as things begin to unravel. Eventually that rope comes tight, and that's when the reckoning happens. That's when anxiety spikes. That's when depression sets in. That's when physical burnout sets in. That's where believing lies, frankly, the brain starts to lie to the child and the child starts to act on those lies. Like, we are seeing this in young people, not simply from lies that the internet gives them, although that is part of it, but from lies that they will believe within themselves because not they don't understand, say, the Bible and what God says about them, but because their body begins lying to them through the chemicals and hormones that are now present in their body because of the extremely high levels of things like cortisol, which is a stress hormone when their body goes into fight and flight mode, and it causes them to interpret reality differently. We must give our children a chance to sleep. Yes, there's a time in sports and a time in leadership and a time in life when we go without sleep. Like you have a baby, you're going to get less sleep, and that's fine for that season. It's not healthy and it's not sustainable. I say that with a smile on my face because we've had 3 humans and it's so predictable, but that doesn't change how hard it is. We're talking about children, not the people who have children. And these humans need 9 hours of sleep a night. We must schedule that, like put it on our calendar to say, how is my child going to get 9 hours of sleep a night? If your child has a practice that requires they be there, come home, eat, shower, and are getting to bed at 9:30 or 10 p.m., that means they need to sleep in till 7 a.m. If your school schedule doesn't allow them to sleep till 7 a.m., something else has to give. Maybe it's that the sport is only 2 or 3 months long. A season of 2 to 3 months with low sleep will impact grades and friendships and development. But as long as nothing really intense is happening, maybe we can justify that. And many of us have children that play year-round sports, 9 months a year during developing emotional, physical, and mental stages of life. We can't be having children go 9 months a year with minimal amounts of sleep, sub 9 hours. We must be giving them every opportunity at healthy, well-rounded adulthood, and that might not include professional sports if professional sports requires that they do not get enough sleep. So schedule the sleep. And I'm saying this strongly because it is so easy for me to justify on a good outcome that I see. I love watching my children play sports, especially sports that they experience success at. It's awesome. I love seeing my children have good friends. I love seeing my children extend themselves and experience new things in life. And I have to recognize that my children are finite humans. And the most important thing they can do is learn how to trust God with their purpose and identity and rest in God's finished work. That in the gospel, we're told that God saves sinners and calls them to good works and accomplishes that good work through them, through the Holy Spirit that he put in them since Pentecost. Jesus died, rose again, returned to the right hand of the Father, and gave us the promised Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit is the one accomplishing our work. So yeah, add some great education to that and add some incredible high-tier sports to that and add some really robust friendships to that. But don't think that any one of those things is more important than your ability to know the living God and rest in who he's called you to be. A literal part of rest is rest, like sleeping rest. Like it's a gift. God gives it to the righteous. We aren't out to just strive every moment of our day so that one day we can matter and we can see God's kingdom come on our effort. When he says, well done, good and faithful servant, it's not because we've impressed him. It's because we were faithful to his call. And the first call is to believe in the one he sent, that Jesus did the work. So we don't have to strive anymore. This is what the author of Hebrews does a beautiful job of saying, like every day is the Sabbath now because our great high priest daily brings a sacrifice on our behalf so that we can be right before the Father. Like every day is the Sabbath. We can rest from our works for righteousness and then work because we have rested, because God has brought us the peace we need and we want to share that with others. I share all of that because I believe lies about what needs to be done to see my children have a good future. Be it the schools they go to or the classes they get or the friends they make or the things they achieve or the things I do or the way I parent. And there are important things there. There are deliberate ways we can support our children in their full potential. And one of the deliberate ways is getting them rest. In America, we struggle with this because rest feels like quitting. College is expensive, and that's scary. As Anna and I look at our 3 kids looking at college, we've done the math. That is where amazing universities like George Fox University come in. If you get a 3.5 or higher, a $20,000 grant to students right off the bat, merit-based. Then you can apply for more grants. These are grants, not loans, that you do not have to repay up to $23,000 more. 100% of students get financial aid, and your average student is looking somewhere in the range of $25,000 a year to attend school there. This is a Christ-following university where 100% of staff are professing Christians that have a high level of academic rigor and excellence, and that are looking to raise not just safe kids, but young adults who can lead in wherever the Lord plants them and serve and love their community. Check out George Fox University. Do an on-site visit. You get a $1,000 scholarship right off the bat. As you look at colleges, make sure that George Fox University is on the list as a place with high level of excellence in academics academics that can make this a dream come true for you and your family. Hear me on that. Schedule your sleep. I want to be very clear on what this would look like. So my son my oldest, is going into junior high next year. His school starts at 7:45. So a schedule for this looks like waking up at 6:30, breakfast at 7, driving to school at 7:25. Now that's only, 55 minutes from wake up to driving. Some people take more than that. This is an earlier start than elementary school for us. Here in Washington State, we still have a junior high model. So this is going to be 7th and 8th graders in a specific building, and then 9th through 12th graders are on a different campus. Driving to school starts at 7:45. It ends at 2:45. Practice starts at 3:15. Practice ends at 5:30. He'll be back in our house right around 6. That's dinner. He will consume dinner. Let's put a short timeline on that. Real American, 6:30. He's going to have to shower at this point. He's going to bathe himself, get changed. It's now 7 p.m. If he has homework is next priority. But if he doesn't, he has 4 30-minute time slots where he can do something discretionary from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. This is when he can, and I just want to run through a few things that either have to happen or he likes to do. So he can do chores. This is when laundry gets done, things get put away. He's going to clean his room, fix something he didn't, that he left out or broke previously. He's going to practice things that he needs to practice, like his piano, which he's good at, he enjoys. We want to make sure, but that's part of these 2 hours. He's going to maybe read something for fun, something not assigned for school, something he's passionate about. Play a board game. He loves those. Hang out with his siblings. He loves them. Practice for a sport that isn't the sport he's in. So first sport of the year is going to be baseball here. Because our springs are so terrible, they moved junior high baseball to the fall. He's going to maybe practice golf or a different sport that he's passionate about. Golf has just been top of the list recently here. He loves painting board game miniatures. Maybe he's going to do that. Maybe he's going to make up a random game. He has these awesome little games that he just makes up with friends. Super cool. But he has 4 30-minute chunks per day, and he's going to have to pick which one of those you do. So as we think about scheduling sleep, we are recognizing we're scheduling sleep because it's important and because there are other priorities, and we want to make sure that we have a finite amount of time and we use it well. The second thing, if we're scheduling sleep, we are then going to minimize our screen time. Remember, there are 4 30-minute chunks of time. So he's going to probably want to watch a show at some point or engage technology somehow. How are we going to manage that with our children? It's really, really simple. We are going to say no more than half of our discretionary time can go to tech and no more than 2 hours a day. And this is cumulative. So if they want to watch a show and play a game, you can go 30 minutes and 30 minutes, but we're done then. And this is absolute maximum. I would strongly encourage you to not do an hour of your 2 free hours per day. I just don't think we can justify the amount of time of putting 50% of our discretionary time towards that level of entertainment. So if you want to say, hey, every other day you can play an hour, okay. If you want to say that you can do 30 minutes each day, you can come home and watch your favorite show or listen to music or do whatever. And by listen to music, I mean, if you're putting in AirPods and you're having independent music listening time, that is digital entertainment. That is what you are doing. We have a record on while we're baking or something in the kitchen. That's different. But that is independent time. That's you listening to your music, getting your vibe on. You have 30 minutes. Go nuts. Parents, this, by the way, is where a family hedge around your home network matters, because you actually need the ability to say, you have 30 minutes and it's a timer. I'm not coming and remembering to do this. I have a life. In 30 minutes, this app will either shut down or that internet will go away. So use your 30 minutes. You are operating within the responsibility you've earned. I'm not saying give your child a smartphone to do this, but whatever tech you've given them, the tablet, the computer, the smartphone, 30 minutes. Then it shuts off and they move to their next activity. So minimize screen time, half of their time maximum, and preferably less than that. You need to find a rhythm that works for your family and a conversation that goes with that. The easiest way to explain this is a reset. Say, we want you to have a diverse, a lot of different ways to enjoy real life. And we want it to improve your relationships, emotions, sleep, enjoyment, and time. So I'm assuming if you're going to watch that show or communicate on that social media platform or listen to that music or play that game, that this is a net gain for you. Yeah, it's fun. You seem to enjoy it. Great. The best example I can think of off the top of my head, my son went to a friend's house, played a fun game with a friend, and it was part of their friendship, not the point of it. So they swam in the lake they played a video game, and then they ran off and they played wiffle ball in the backyard. And it was part of their friendship, not the point of their friendship. And in this case, they were playing the game together in real life, in real time. Sometimes they play baseball and football games, and sometimes they play silly side-scrolling platformer action games. Like, okay, they're great. The content is fine. It's reasonably appropriate, and it's part of their friendship. They don't do it for the fullness of their time, and they don't hang out in order to play these games. So with that in mind, we're going to minimize screen time, no more than 2 days. No more than half your time. So I would say no more than an hour a day. And if you're going that maximum time, no more than 2 days a week. 3 days a week, we're going to find ways to enjoy real life. That is my encouragement to you. I expect you to have the conversation with your kids and have reset be a part of that. What are the limits that you are going to set for your family to make sure relationships and emotions and sleep and enjoyment and time remain healthy? Okay, before I move on to number 3, actually, let's do an aside on, okay, but we're homeschooled. I have found this to be a struggle for many of my beloved homeschool friends and for those that I visit when I go and do live workshops. Homeschool families finish their schoolwork so much faster. So these kids, their friends aren't out of school for another 3 to 5 hours. And they finish their schoolwork. They did their online lessons. They finished their reading. What do we do now? Please, please, please hold to the no more than 2 hours a day of screen time and no more than half of their free time. So if they have 3 hours, maximum 90 minutes, they have to find something else to do with the rest of their time. And I would set certain days, like Tuesdays and Thursdays, those are your screen time. You can have half of that time up to a max of 2 hours. But other than that, we're going to find other things to do. You're going to build yourself some hobbies. You're going to accomplish some tasks. You're going to develop some life skills. Maybe those life skills are chopping wood and stacking it, mowing lawns, learning to weld. Maybe those life skills involve baking and reading and getting caught up on important like math things that you do know how to do this, but you're going to advance it. You're going to use Khan Academy for 15 to 30 minutes. Just as we think through this, we need to be deliberate with the entertainment tech side. And yes, I know at homeschool you have a lot more time, but that's also the beautiful thing about homeschool is you can develop in so many extra areas. Please do not waste that opportunity to build amazing skill sets because those skills do track into adult life and they do give you a leg up. And that's a super cool opportunity from the education format you've chosen. So use it. Do not simply say, well, we checked the box of education today, so screens it is, go nuts. I know it's asking a lot. I know it puts more pressure on you, and that is the platform that homeschooling gives us. It gives us a lot of opportunities to build hobbies and skills. So let's use it. All right. Third and finally, we're going to pick 3 priorities. So I'm specifically talking to people that are doing a more traditional form of schooling in this format because I'm talking about those 4 30-minute chunks of time. But we must pick 3 priorities tops for our week. So I'm giving you 4 non-negotiables. You may not negotiate family time. You must make deliberate time to be together as a family. Maybe that's a meal for breakfast or for dinner. Maybe that's a time you all have a family meeting where you can catch up on your day and discuss. Maybe it's not even every single day. We're going to do this on Mondays and Wednesdays. But you do need to make sure that family time is a priority, that it is scheduled into your calendar. You're going to make time for God, personal time for God. Like I'm going to wake up at this time and put God first. Jesus did it in prayer deliberately, even during busy seasons of ministry when he was seeing people freed from the powers of hell and the flesh and brokenness of this world restored and made new. He still made time to get away from the crowds and away from his own disciples and be with his heavenly Father. We need to as well. And we do have to find a way to make that a family experience as well. Corporate worship at church is great. Corporate worship together is good. It is not something that I consistently do with my family. It is something I recognize the value of, and I want to make sure I'm scheduling as we look at this year. I'm not simply saying, hey, we're crushing it, keep doing it. I'm saying, man, this has to be a priority because it will not happen on accident. Our family must be a non-negotiable priority. Our relationship with God and our family's relationship with God must be. Our school time, we're going to set that in our calendar, and our sleep. We already talked about, we're going to schedule that. That's going to be in there. 9 hours a day, move your calendar around and make it work. What we can choose after that. These are just some options. This is not an exhaustive list, but here's examples. I've seen in our family, and I've seen in other families I've worked with over the last years, I've seen sports. These are organized, coach-led, things like basketball and baseball and lacrosse and swim. The arts, by this I mean anything that renders reality in a medium or a mode for communication to others. Now, that could be writing, it could be reading, it could be drawing, it could be painting, it could be sculpting, it could be 3D design. But this idea of like, I'm taking an experience or an emotion or a story, and I am creating it so other people can see it, read it, experience it. That's something we can choose to do with our free time. God's given us minds and brains that are built for relationship and are built to build stories. And we tell those stories in all different ways. So make some time for the arts. Like, enjoy that, experience it, carve it into a tree with a chainsaw, like whatever your format is. It doesn't matter if it turns out well. The point is that you attempted it and that you had intent on that. And this is what separates you from the AI. So go out there and live it. Exercise. It's important. Move your body. Skill development. This is where you might either be deficient or have a space where you can truly excel because God's gifted you in an area. So go out and practice that writing, that math, that welding, that mowing, the stuff you'll need in life, which I differentiate from hobbies. Hobbies are the things that are just pure fun and creative silliness, and they don't necessarily have an outcome. Like welding has an outcome. Hobbies are things you're just like, I got a question. What would happen if? And you just want to go out and experiment and test it. And sometimes those hobbies have large categories like fishing and running and swimming and sewing and like baking. And these are hobbies. But sometimes they're just more nuanced. Like you have a hobby of just tinkering and making things and asking big questions and trying to figure out what happens. Like physics could be your hobby. Like go nuts. The point is, maybe that's something you want to prioritize in this season. So for me, exercise is a hobby. Cycling is a hobby. Airsoft is a hobby where I've gotten in just like, I wonder what would happen if, and I'll just tinker. I'm not good at it. I'm not especially mechanical, but it has pushed me. And that then goes into like, oh, well, this thing's broken on my house. And like, I fixed that one thing with airsoft. Maybe I can. And it turns out that I can learn to install a French drain and then learn why that didn't need a French drain and I should do something else with it. And it requires a lot of questions and asking people that know stuff and a lot of humility and a lot of making mistakes. Like these are hobbies. Let's go out there and learn stuff. Make space for it. Friends, people who respect you, who prioritize you, and whom you know in real life, let's make space for them. Those are options. And outdoors, let's walk, run, hike, swim. These are our options. So again, sports, arts, exercise, skill development, hobbies, friends, and time in the outdoors. And maybe you're like, well, on this day, we're going to have one or two of these priorities, and there's going to be 4 priorities throughout the week. Okay, but if you pick 3 and then look at your free days, and then you add those 2 days where you get the screen time, you've got yourself a full week because you only had 2 hours a day of discretionary time. Elementary school kids, you can cross into maybe 3 hours a day, but and homeschool kids, you can end up with 5 hours a day of discretionary time. But I would say picking 3 of these and delving deep in them and finding new ways to challenge yourself to make them work on a weekly basis is an excellent use of our back to school time because we're scheduling our sleep, we're minimizing our screen time, using it deliberately, having fun with it, but not allowing it to become the lion's share of our time so that we just are doing it because we've been used to doing it. Well, this is just what we do in the evenings. We sit down and watch a show. Which show? I won't know until I open it and it tells me something to watch. Like that should cause us pause because we're no longer being deliberate with our time. And we're saying, well, I need this to unload, to decompress from my day, but I'm not actually maybe coming back better from it because I'm not doing it purposely, which leads me to potentially binge watching, not because I love it or have said this is good, but just because it's there and I don't feel better yet. So I'm going to keep going. And it starts to feel a lot more like when we consume cookies to feel better or any other substance, and we're just using it to kind of numb the pain. That's what we want to be diligent against. And having priorities means, yes, I can go to my tech. I can watch my show, listen to my music, play my game, communicate over that platform, and I can check my heart at the same time. I can make sure I'm doing this as a net positive, not as simply a distraction or a point of exhaustion. And if I am, I'm not going to shame myself. I'm not shaming you. If we are using our technology in unhealthy ways, we're just recognizing that, going, you know what? This is not something I want to make more permanent this year. Beginning the school year is an excellent time for us to minimize our screen time. I hope that this was an encouragement to you and that you can hear my heart behind this is we can be deliberate as we begin the school year, starting by scheduling our sleep. If you only do one thing this week, look at your calendar for the next week and say, how are we going to make sure our kids get 9 hours of sleep a night? Why is it different for adults? Because adults aren't developing anymore. We've got hardened hardware and those paths are set and we can still pivot, but we can also pivot, meaning we can change our behaviors that are unhealthy and we can learn new unhealthy ones if we're not careful, but it's not affecting the way, say, the white matter in our brain develops, where the axon network that connects the gray matter is getting made more robust or getting pruned drastically because it's overstimulated and undernourished. So let's give our brains, let's give our bodies, let's give our emotional health the rest that it needs with 9 hours of sleep a night. For our children, let's model for them healthy use of tech by getting out of our bedrooms, the screens, the video games, the $1,000 alarm clocks. And we can pick those priorities. Each week, let's just pick 3. Let's go with, we're going to pick 3. We're going to choose these 3 for this week. If it works well, we'll do them again next week. If we want to try something new, we'll alternate. It stops us from overcommitting and using more time than we actually have. And it stops us from just staring at a wall and waiting for paint to dry. Going and minimizing our tech and putting it in its proper place doesn't have to be punishment. It can actually be a celebration because we get to use the tech and we get to have joy at the pace of real life. So I hope this is encouraging and helpful. If it was, share it with someone. Talk about it with your family. How are we going to schedule this sleep for this week? And if we can't this week because life is too busy, what are we going to do next week that's going to make it so that we can actually get our children the proper amount of sleep? Let's make that a priority as we head into the school year. If you have any questions for me, you can reach out nathan@gospeltech.net, or you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Love God Use Tech. And you can join us next week as we continue this conversation about how we can love God and use tech. I'll talk with you then.